Welcome everybody and all our viewers that are joining us today. Really excited with what our content and topic is about today. I guess it's a burning question on everybody's lips at the moment: load shedding and Eskom and where to, and what's the future that lies ahead for us. So we've compiled this webinar today relating to smart energy. So if I can just ask all our viewers just to, if you've got any questions, if you can just post those in the chat box, and we will get to those towards the end of the session. Some of your questions that you ask might get already covered within the session, but please guys, it's a very interactive session, so send us any question that you feel is relevant, and I'll have Nigel and Christian revert to you guys. So yes, once again, welcome to all the viewers. My name is Rodney Taylor. I'm the Managing Director of Guardian Eye. We're a part of the Vivica Group. It's a large organization based in South Africa, and we're very excited today to talk to you around smart energy and where we see the current situation, where we see the future situation with partnering up with companies or that are focusing on smart energy. So I'm going to firstly start with introducing our panel experts today. So I'll be starting with Nigel Baker. Nigel, if you just give the viewers just a quick intro about yourself and your industry expertise.
Sure. Thanks, Rodney, and thanks for having me. Yeah, I've been doing energy measurement and management for about 20 years. 4 years ago, I started at a company called SMAPI, which is a European company, and we specialize in smart energy management and control of energy systems. So obviously being quite on everybody's lips at the moment. It's quite a good industry to be in, and we are in the energy revolution at the moment. So yeah, hopefully we can help you solve your problems when it comes to load shedding, etc.
Awesome. Looking forward to hearing your insight, both locally as well as internationally. I've also got Christian today joining us from Guardian Eye, and he's responsible for the international nerve center that we've got based up in Johannesburg. So Christian, just maybe give the viewers a bit of background on how a nerve center fits into energy management.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Rodney. Thanks for having me as well. So my background when it comes to Guardian Eye, our National Nerve Center, is a solutions role where it's very important for us to be able to manage data that comes through. So if we look at energy management as a solution, my role is to look at solutions that we put out into the market in order to ensure that we deliver the right outcomes, and then of course for our nerve center to be able to report thereon effectively in order to drive those outcomes through to our clients. So it's important for us to have a national nerve center in order to manage that data, and for me personally to be able to look at those solutions in order to put them together properly.
100%. So just touching on that, Christian, you know, we've seen how complex energy can be. You know, everybody out there now is an energy expert. Everybody standing around the bar is now becoming an energy expert. But I mean, I really just would maybe just present to our viewers what the value proposition is and where you see the smart energy going with regards to a national nerve center, sensors, platforms. You know, it's all this jargon that's out there. Maybe dumb it down for the viewers that they can understand exactly where we're going with this value proposition of smart energy and why.
Yeah, sure, definitely. So I think before I go into our value proposition, I thought about giving a quick introduction into Guardian Eye. So Guardian Eye was established about 12 years ago, where we predominantly focus on monitoring of cameras after hours, but we quickly grew from there to be a company to be able to assess our clients' risks as well as manage their expectations when it comes to their certain requirements. And then the way we do that is to focus on our 3 key pillars that we have within our organizations. And those 3 key pillars are, of course, our sensors, our platform, and then most importantly, our nerve center. So if we look at our nerve center as the key when we drive our solutions, we try to build the solutions that we put through to our clients right out of our nerve center in order to know what the outcome is before we even put the design together, so that we can understand what the outcome and requirements are from a customer's point of view in order to meet those specific requirements. Then when we move over to our sensors, it is important to have sensors in the field in order to push data through to our platforms that's managed inside our nerve center so that we can deliver those outcomes. So the way we do that is to have smart energy devices out in the field as a sensor point of view, report through to our platforms, where we are ever evolving on our platforms in order to stay current on relevant technology. It's also evolve our products in order to enhance the reporting structure when we give it through to our clients, which is a proper value proposition from our side. And then, of course, with our nerve center being in place, it's important for us to understand our clients' risks and expectations when it comes to energy management, as an example, for us to be able to give them those outcomes and deliver on the requirements that they need.
100%. And I guess you basically the big brother of energy out there. These energy systems that people are buying, I mean, there's solar, there's generators, there's wind turbines, there's an array of products that are going out there. The cost of these things is enormous. How can the nerve center play a role for a person out there wanting to implement smart energy or to implement any form of energy? How does that nerve center play a role with that particular customer?
Yeah, definitely. So with our nerve center in place and us having trained staff in order to manage those specific requirements from our clients, we fit the sensors from a point of view where we're able to meet those specific requirements, not just from a security point of view, but also from the energy management space, in order to try and save them money at the end of the day. But then not just to have expensive equipment that they have on site in order to drive that energy management outcome, but to have different product sets available in order to manage expensive equipment that we put down.
Do we have eyes on site? Are we able to see these people's sites and keep them safe?
Correct, 100%. And that's our value proposition from our nerve center. So we don't just focus on one specific product. We try to evolve our products in such a way to combine solutions to our clients, to offer them services like energy management, and then to protect the equipment as well as staff on the ground.
So it sounds to me that the total turnkey solution can be offered through the nerve center, where you can procure any form of equipment. You can have the nerve center manage, monitor it. My understanding is that you've got cameras around the country that can view locations around the whole of South Africa to ensure those assets are safe, which are then also connected back up to security companies, the police, online intelligence. So it sounds like you've got a lot on your plate, Christian.
Yeah, definitely, and it's very important for us from a nerve center point of view in order to manage those specific requirements. So when we look at our nerve center, it was important for us to always stay online when it comes to the specific offerings that we offer our clients. So what we've done within our nerve center is to have backup on our power that comes into our control, not just by one feed, but a backup generator in order to keep uptime. And then from a connectivity point of view, because at the end of the day, everything from a sensor to a platform to our nerve center connects through to the internet. So it was important for us to have backup connectivity in place, which we currently have in our control room as a main fiber line, a backup fiber line in case that is needed. And if both fiber lines fails, we also have a wireless backup link in order to ensure that our connectivity stays up and running.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thanks for that, Christian. But let's get to the big problem. Let's get to the big elephant in the room here, Eskom. Nigel, tell me about Eskom. What's happening?
Well, we don't have enough power, and it's not only a South African problem, to be honest with you, it's a global problem. Part of the issue is that we've got enough power at certain times of the day, but our usage isn't consistent. So we have to make alternative arrangements. I mean, it's as simple as that. We are not increasing our production. Eskom is not increasing production. They're struggling to keep sites online. So that's why we're here today, is talking about what are the alternatives to the demand, the supply and demand. I mean, that's essentially what it is.
So gone are the days of just turning on something and just expecting power to come out of it. So I mean, this is quite an interesting slide here, just with regards to the margin of error that we're currently sitting on. It's so thin.
Everything's getting worse.
It's getting worse and worse as per the stats that the viewers can look at. Our margin is so thin now, and this is obviously now we're in a constant state of load shedding. So smart energy is not, it's a necessity now. It's not going to be an alternative anymore.
Correct.
In my view.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you on that.
Just a closer look, maybe just tell the viewers about what's happening in South Africa, and that's what our infrastructure looks like at the moment. How do we actually get power at the moment? Some people are not even aware of how we're generating power at the moment.
Well, as it says there, 85% of all the energy we're producing comes from coal-powered plants. Issues of wet coal, supply issues with coal, coal's dirty. We should be looking at other forms. And for me, we've got an abundance of wind, we've got an abundance of sun, and we're just not harnessing it enough. And the coal power stations are also very, very old. That's another obviously issue, and maintenance is ongoing. And most of our load shedding is due to maintenance issues and just sites being offline. So we have to go and look at clean energy, and my personal opinion is hydro, solar and wind. Those are the three forms.
100%. Hopefully our government is listening to this webinar today. But here's some stats. If you look at a global stats, so it's not uncommon what South Africa is facing.
Correct.
So globally, you know, we've got load shedding in Australia, we've got problems in California, we've got problems in Europe. So it's not just a South African dilemma. And I mean, that slide is a representative of exactly how we're generating our power at the moment. It's purely from coal, and I mean that's the end game is coming.
Other issues with coal is the environmental impacts on burning the coal, and what a lot of people don't take into account, to produce electricity you have to boil water. So water is also a global issue. Yes, so we've got a massive coastline where wind turbines, if you go look through Europe and the UK, and that wind turbines, offshore wind turbines. We've got a massive desert in South Africa, where obviously the guys are putting in solar farms and things like that. But one of the things I actually saw yesterday, I don't know if you guys saw it, that City of Cape Town has now come to the party and said, we will give every consumer 78 cents a kilowatt hour plus a 25 cent a kilowatt hour incentive to sell back to the grid. And apparently it's unlimited, so you can sell as much as you want back to the grid. Now, those are the type of things that need to be rolled out countrywide.
So it sounds like Cape Town is heading in the smart direction with regards to smart energy management. So that's great news for folk in Cape Town. The bad news nationally, I see there's an 18.3% increase coming through possibly in April. And just if you look at what Eskom knows and what obviously yourself know, is even the ex-CEO of Eskom is reaching out to companies like Guardian Eye that are partnering up with companies like Smacky and saying that energy is just not Eskom can't solve the problem. I think that's today's message, and we're going to get through to ways we feel smart energy can be implemented smartly. But if the guy generating the power is telling you that he needs help, I mean, there's a shout out to companies like Guardian Eye, and this is why we obviously now we are implementing these smart solutions at our customer sites and driving down these energy costs that we can control, monitor of what's happening, and I guess save the economy at the end of the day.
I mean, if I can just add to that, if you're out there waiting for Eskom to solve this problem, it's not going to happen. We've got to take it upon ourselves to solve the problem, and that's where smart energy management comes into.
100%. So let's jump more into the nuts and bolts, Nigel. So why smart energy management? I guess we know why, and especially we've explained it in a very nice way about our problems in Eskom. But I think let's roll up our sleeves and tell us through market trends, the challenges and the needs.
Okay. So there are four main reasons, obviously, for energy management. Prices are going up globally. Believe it or not, South Africa is still fairly cheap in the global sense when it comes to energy, and consumption is going up. A couple of years back, production was based on the amount of consumption out there. There's been a complete flip in how we view energy. Consumption is now based on production. So we can only consume what's being produced. It's not the other way around anymore. So we've got a massive rise in renewable energy as solar and batteries and everything's become a lot cheaper, where 10 years ago it wasn't really feasible. Smart grids with technology and the way things have moved forward, and the control over grids and the control over the flow of energy, and then more and more people are getting access to energy, electrification. So those are sort of what's happening in this country. It's actually happening globally, throughout Africa as well. So the biggest challenges is you have to have information. If you want to save energy, you need the information, and you need to know where your energy is going.
Some of the questions that I saw coming earlier today is, and it's vital that you talk about, having the correct information, and the trend that I've been picking up around the country with our current sites that are on energy management is the municipalities and Eskom themselves are getting it wrong. So they're giving incorrect billings. They've got faulty meters out there. They don't have the capacity to get to people's sites to actually read the meters. So they're starting to do average readings. Correct. So what we've started to uncover, and some of the viewers have also mentioned in the chat, is it's vital to have this data. How do you know being charged the right rate? How do you know you've been charged the right amount of energy? And also with all the generators that are being deployed at the moment, how do you know that your landlord is providing with the correct billing information in regards to the amount of diesel you're consuming? And surely this plays into smart energies, how to monitor and manage that.
Correct. So what we do is we can measure any electrical system, whether it be a generator, whether it be solar. We can obviously then do comparisons with what the municipality or Eskom are billing you. One of the issues with the municipalities and Eskom is the lack of resources, lack of funds to go and change the older meters into newer meters. That's a big problem because the new meters are online connected. We are not using 100% of our renewable energy. So for instance, in a home, if I've got an 8 kilowatt inverter and I'm producing 8 kilowatts, I must use the 8 kilowatts. If I'm using 3 kilowatts and I'm not filling up my battery and it's just going to waste, it's a complete waste of money. There's a very big imbalance, obviously, you know, with the blackouts, rolling blackouts. I mean, I just feel sorry for the business owners, to be honest, and how they're coping with that. And then the complexity of the electrical infrastructure is changing. So more electronics, more things online, but that's also got positives. There's more data available, and we're not using that data.
Okay. So one of the challenges we've also picked up from one of our viewers is during load shedding, you know, we rely so much, if we're not using smart energy solutions, we rely so much on the individual to implement, you know, proper energy rules within an organization. So, you know, I'm always big for automation. And I think Christian will talk about a site that of some information I'll show you on a site that was physically automated. But during even COVID, we had certain times where certain shops were closed, and we even picked up on our platforms that they had not turned off the appliances. So, you know, how does this product alleviate that? Are you able to control things, or how exactly does that work for the layman out there, and proper smart energy management? From how does that all fit together?
The problem with humans is they'll do it for a while. If you automate something, it'll carry on. So what we do find is if the consumer says, well, I will do my own energy management, he will do it for a period of time, and then it will be forgotten because there's other things happen. This needs to happen in the background. And that's the type of stuff that we do. So we give the in-depth actionable data. You have to have the data first. If somebody says, I'm going to do energy management and I've got no data, I'm going to save so much money, you have to have the measurement data first. Okay. We can then monitor and you can control the energy flows. So if you look at SMAPI as a company, we try and allow the user to take the most abundant or the cheapest form of energy, bring it into their building, and then distribute it in their building where they need it the most at the right times. So do I fill up my battery from my solar? Do I let my solar go to a part of a factory, things like that? And that's the type of stuff, but we do it automatically. Okay.
Awesome.
All right.
So just getting into the product, I mean, the product looks very sexy. It looks, it doesn't look like a big clunky electrical device.
No.
You know, the installations that we've seen being done around globally, products look very slick. My understanding is, you know, it's agnostic. It can connect to any sort of electrical infrastructure.
Correct.
It can connect to, obviously, our platform and the nerve center is agnostic, so it connects to all of those agnostic platforms. It connects to any appliance. It can connect to any grid. So really, it's a plug and play solution that Guardian has come up here with, obviously with the likes of SMAPI, and now ultimately the positioning I see it is you need to obviously monitor, is what's been said to me loud and clear here. Without monitoring the data, we're staring into a black hole. And then from after that monitoring process, we then take control of those appliances, taking out the human error or human behavior, and then manage and control that centrally from a nerve center where everything's protected. Sounds all good. Sounds all good to be true.
Yeah. So there are a couple of things I can add to that. Obviously, the data is what we actually, that's what you want, and then the ability to automate. But when we've looked at the design of our product, we've specifically gone for a very small footprint because electrical cabinets are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. It must be future-proof. So the actual hardware can be upgraded over the air, so firmware updates and things like that, because we don't want people to go and have to replace hardware after a year, 2 years, because there are new features coming out.
Okay, that's great.
That's not what we're after. Our intelligence sits on the cloud. The cloud is far more secure, as you guys are aware. And the person who's doing the installation, the electrical contractor, must be able to go in, do the installation with as little disruption as possible, and go away and never have to go back to site.
Yeah.
Then the data comes through to companies like yourself.
Yep.
And that's where the sort of the magic happens. Generally, what the guys will do, they'll monitor for a period of time, and then they will go and do interventions once they've got some sort of data over a period of time to understand where and what.
Yeah. Well, that's good news for the layman out there, or even some, you know, we're not energy experts, as you know, business owners that are out there that have logged on today, you know, they got their businesses to run, and they need turnkey solutions that are reliable, that are globally, that have global standards. And I think the turnkey solution that you guys are presenting us today sounds amazing. But let's talk some numbers. I mean, you've got some global numbers, and Christian will talk about some South African numbers. Like, are the savings real? I guess that's what I want to ask to you guys.
So we've obviously got data from a couple of 100,000 data points out there globally, and what we found is that just by installing a monitoring system that makes you aware of what you're using, you would get about a 12% saving. That's without any intervention at all. It's just from an awareness point of view. And that's quite interesting, because you're all of a sudden becoming aware of what is being used in my home, what is being used in my building, and how can why was a part of the factory or the office lights left on for the whole weekend when they shouldn't have been left on. So, and that's just by viewing. That's not even by doing any automations.
I guess COVID's also played a big part of it, because in the past you'd have people, perhaps your maintenance manager or your facilities manager that's on site, going around ensuring things are turned off, and you know, certain appliances are not used. You've got the situation up buildings, of people are accessing buildings all day long, off the cuff, and now you're relying on, once again, that human nature to physically go and turn off things. And what I'm also picking up is the reason for the necessity to have this data is energy, I guess, is like data. Once it's been used, it's gone. You can't get it back. It's history. So you've got to be proactive instead of reactive by what you gentlemen are telling me today.
Also, once the interventions are done, I mean, the savings just go exponentially up to about 30% saving. That's if you're just replacing either the type of equipment or putting in certain automations to reduce the amount of time that your equipment is running.
Awesome, great. So Christian, I'm going to bring you in. I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Sure.
Just for our viewers, due to Poppy and all those wonderful digital acts we have to abide to, we've taken one of our physical customers. I mean, it's a client it's a mid-based client, so they're a national retailer. Fairly considerable small bill when you talking bills for corporates, but this bill sits at about 120 to 125,000 rand a month. It was a customer that came online 4 years ago. I'm told they're in their fifth year.
Yeah.
Maybe just talk us through what appliances we put our sensors on in this retailer, and what was the effect. The viewers can obviously see there was savings, but maybe just talk us through that slide a little bit.
Yeah, 100%, Rodney. So as you can see from the slide, you'll see year on year the saving that the client is actually making. So the reason being is the data that we receive in our nerve center in order for us to advise the client accordingly allows us to give them accurate data through in order to assist them to save energy where energy is not needed. And if I talk about those specific devices, those devices that we look at to try and save energy are appliances like HVAC systems. Can be geysers, the delis or the fridges that's inside the certain business. But the reason that we put these devices down is in order to gather that specific data and trying to build a trend with the client in order so that for us to educate our clients in order to try and save money. So if you look at the case study that we have with this specific client, is on year one, they already had a saving of 10,000 Rand. And then on year 2, 3, and 4, it's exponentially growing. So if you look at the overall saving when it comes to year 5, they sit on a saving with over 70,000 Rand a month. And the key here for the client is that there's no outright cost to the system. It's a managed services that we deliver to our clients. And if you look at the return on investment that our clients are receiving from only managing the energy and applying these devices to certain appliances within their business, it's quite a good return on investment.
So question, devil's in the detail. Is there any capex? Is there any upfront costs?
No upfront costs.
No upfront costs. it seems that once the site has been analyzed, once you've deployed your sensors, the savings kicking from the return of investments from day one. And with regards to maintenance, and how is that? How is the maintenance managed with the site, as an example?
Because it's all cloud-based, it's very easy for us to maintain. And the reason being is because we designed it in such a way that we can manage it right out of our nerve sensor. As Nigel mentioned, the way the product has been designed is to go and install it quite quickly and efficiently so that you can walk away and you don't have to go back to maintain those specific things. The detail sits in the data, right?
Any business interruption, Christian?
No
I need
business.
to know. I own a store. Are you going to disrupt my life by installing the system?
No, not at all. So it's purely planned from the get-go in order to manage downtime with the specific client so that they don't see downtime within their business.
Okay, excellent. Just some more practical cases, Nigel, before we open the floor to some other questions that I see are pouring in. Yeah. Where else do you see this type of technology being utilized? Not only South Africa but globally. What sort of trends are you seeing? This Cape Town thing is big news that happened yesterday.
I just saw it yesterday. Yes, so
that is big news, and that's, I think maybe we can touch a little bit on that and some of the other areas of practical uses. We all want savings, we get it. We all want to be able to see where our consumption is, but I'm sure there's some other practical uses that are coming down the line.
Sure. So self-consumption is a big one. So as I mentioned earlier, don't waste your solar energy. If you're producing it, use it. So there you can automate things to come on when you've got excess solar available. One of the big use cases globally at the moment is electric vehicle charging. I know it's still in its infancy in South Africa, but we will follow. Is to make sure that you are charging your vehicle at the cheapest form of energy. But for the comfort of the driver, you still need to go and do the 200 kilometers the next morning, for instance. So you want to know that you've got enough, your battery's charged enough to do how much mileage you need, but you want to prioritize the charging, and that is our biggest use case, believe it or not, globally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, it makes sense. Charge a vehicle from solar, and then jump onto Eskom, and then jump onto the generator. So this smart technology is obviously predicting which is the best way to charge something,
and the cheapest
way to charge something. So if we've got power, we've got a way to select which power source to use to charge at the lowest possible rate. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes.
Okay.
But you still want to be able to drive the next morning. Your battery must still be at its optimal charge, what you want it for.
100%.
Okay. Grid monitoring. So a lot of the utilities, from a planning point of view, want to know on certain substations how much load is still available in what phase, especially once you're going single to three phase. So that's a big thing. Overload protection. You do not want your home breaker or your breaker in your factory or your office building tripping out because all of a sudden there's extra load. So we can do dynamic overload protection where we prevent the main breaker or a sub breaker from tripping due to overloading.
So saving equipment, saving appliances, that sounds music to the ears of all this.
Exactly, but not it's interruption, especially in a factory, I suppose, or where there's productivity, you lose productivity. I mean, it's as simple as that. A couple of other use cases, smart grid exchange is big in Europe at the moment. We will probably get it here, where you can choose when you want to buy, when you want to sell energy. We do that already. And the older meters out there, they need to be intelligent, and our meters are intelligent meters. So we do live data and historical data.
So in South Africa, if you've got an old dumb pulse meter out there, the technology that you're providing us with, we can make a dumb place a smart place?
Yeah, so we either retrofit or we can actually take the data from an old dumb pulse meter if you really want to.
Great. Lastly, before we jump off the energy, we spoke a very little about gas. I mean, gas is something that we're starting to see, the Ukraine, what's happening in Ukraine and Russia, it's starting to affect gas prices in South Africa. That wave is coming through. We've already seen the likes of the KFCs and guys that use a lot of gas, and the restaurant market have been reaching out to us. And water, water for us is still fairly cost effective, but water leaks. If you look at KZN, sad state of affairs at the moment, all the leakages that's happening with all of the floods and whatnot. So the technology, I would understand, and can also be used to manage and maintain gas and water. Maybe give me a little bit of insight for our viewers on that.
So we can measure gas and water. So the measurement of water is pretty simple. we can then pick up the trends. If there's a leak, you will pick it up. You unfortunately won't pick it up straight away. You'll pick it up retrospectively, but at least you can pick it up on the day that the leak starts.
Yeah.
And that's obviously money saving, not only money saving, I mean, that's saving water as well. From a gas point of view, we can measure gas, but we can also measure gas pressure. So when a gas cylinder is empty, you can get a notification or whatever that your cylinder is empty and you need to go and do a top up, because restaurants, that can become a problem if it's not managed properly.
100%. Music to my ears, automated ordering of my gas. It sounds like a Shop 6060 app sitting inside our energy management nerve center. And then just in closing, maybe just some closing statements from the two of you before we take some Q&As.
So from our side, as a closing statement, it's very key, and we've spoken a little bit about Garden, our sensors, our platform and nerve sensor, but our nerve sensor is really key for us in order to drive outcomes to our clients at the end of the day, which is important, as well as manage services to our clients in order to build relationships for them, for us to be able to advise them accordingly, become their trusted advisor. So at the end of the day, the aim for our nerve center is to be able to advise our clients for them to be more productive, more efficient, and of course, saving to our clients at the end of the day.
Awesome.
Yeah, and just from SMAPI's point of view, we're trying to make it as easy as possible for the consumer to save energy, because it's something that's generally out of their comfort zone. It's quite a specialized field, but we want things to happen in the background. They shouldn't even know about it. It should, once the protocols and the automations are set up, it must work.
Awesome.
Because then that's how you get an ongoing saving.
100%. Thanks, guys, for your input. I'm just going to jump across some of the questions that are coming in now. So I guess the first one is, it's a generic question. So why do we need to save energy? I guess, I mean, we possibly all know the answer, but maybe detail it, the really real reasons why we need to save energy. Yeah.
So there's two reasons for doing energy saving. The one is either consistency of supply or saving money.
Yeah.
Okay. In South Africa, consistency of supply, I think, is at the top of the list. But there's the bigger picture. If we don't save energy, we are going to, the rolling blackouts are just never going to end. Not only that, as I mentioned earlier, water is a problem, shortage of water. And I think we've got an obligation to reduce. We live in a world of excess consumption on everything. And I think we need to leave something behind for our future generations. And energy, at the moment, the way we are using energy, we're burning coal, our natural resources are getting depleted, greenhouse gases, global warming, there's all sorts of negatives. It's a no-brainer.
I guess that's what the guy, running his business forgets, that pollution is up.
Yeah.
The environment is getting destroyed. And at the same time, we've got an energy crisis. So right now we're really going backwards. So thanks. We sometimes forget about the pollution, the effect that it's having on us and our children. I guess the next question is very similar: is what happens if we don't save energy? I guess if we don't save energy, I mean, you saw the earlier slides from our viewers. I mean, it's possibly end game.
Yeah. The other thing which a lot of businesses don't take into account is that you've got a certain amount of energy that's available to you from your municipality, from Eskom, in the form of the size of the breaker. You are growing your business. The chances of getting an increased supply is slim to nothing at the moment.
Yeah.
If you do get it, it's going to cost you a lot of money. You're going to have to do some sort of reduction.
That's a very, very good point you raise, and I don't think many of the viewers know out there that you've got a certain size amperage income into your building. I mean, and that's, when you build your building or you purchase a building, you rent a building, and it's a capacity that your physical building can actually receive.
Correct.
As you start expanding your business, and as you start wanting to perhaps even add, if you're adding EV cars onto your business, or as you say, expanding your business, you won't actually be able to get that equipment from Eskom by the sounds of things. And if you are able to get it, it'll be at a ridiculous cost.
Correct.
So alternate power is a definite must, as well as managing the energy to ensure that you don't go over your income as maximum supply.
Correct. There's two ways to save energy. Put the equipment in with a smaller kilowatt rating, or use it for less time.
Yeah.
So we allow you to use it for less time. You cannot fit 3 liters into a 2-liter Coke bottle, and that's essentially what's happening.
Okay. Another question coming in. How does saving energy help the economy? So the South African economy right now, we're talking about, I don't know, 1% growth, if that. You know, how does this impact our economy?
Well, at the moment, I think the capital outlay on energy saving devices in South Africa has gone through the roof. That money could be spent elsewhere.
Yeah.
I know what generators cost, what they cost to run. Just everything changes because it's something else you don't need to worry about. You can focus on your business. At the moment, people are so focused on, well, I've got to do this because I'm on load shedding between 10 and 12. And I've got to close my business, or my lights are off. They're worried about theft and things like that. So it's got a massive impact on the economy. Just to get the economy running consistently, there's just so much inconsistency in the economy at the moment, where if we just get rid of the blackouts, or you put alternative, if you've got solar during the day and you can run your business off solar, your whole business will change. Your focus changes. Everything changes.
So I mean, the message to the viewers is, I mean, if you don't start saving energy, the volatility of prices will continue. Those 18% price increases will just be the first. So as you said, it's a supply and demand problem that we've got. So volatility in pricing will continue. If we don't, you know, blackouts will continue. There could be job losses because of, you know, price of cost of goods.
Well, there's already been job losses.
There can be,
exponential scale.
Increase in cost of goods. So it has a massive net effect on the entire economy, energy, and sometimes possibly the people out there don't realize it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is us. We are out of time. And I think that was the last question that came in. Does saving energy help with climate change? I think we've already answered that question. Most definitely, you know, greenhouse effect. Climate change is most definitely affected with regards to energy generation via coal and whatnot, and depletion of our natural resources. But yeah, once again, Nigel, thank you so much for your time today. Wonderful for you to talk to the viewers and educate us a little bit about what's happening globally, and also I think it's time for us all to put our smart energy caps on and start focusing on how to solve this problem together. As the ex-CEO of Eskom said, it's not going to be solved by Eskom, is it? And yeah, once again, Christian, thanks for your time today. I'm sure it's exciting times in the Nerve Center, and lots of assets to watch, and lots of things lots of data to collect. And yeah, thanks once again for the two of you.
Yes, thanks very much.
Cool. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.